Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Police responded to a 911 call.
Dramatic video of gun insanity in the Bronx.
Police releasing a new video of a person that they are still trying to track down.
Defund the police is not the answer.
Many people surveyed said they just don't feel safe in the city.
It's a shooting outside of a store.
This is Bo Dietl's One Tough Podcast.
Police this morning are searching for the person who turned this Harlem platform to a crime scene.
A Red Apple Media Podcast Network production. Now, here's Bo Dietl.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to One Tough Podcast. I've been around in a while, a couple weeks, but we're back, and we have a new mayor in New York City since I did my last podcast. I guess we have to relate to Mundummy. I forget his name. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I guess we're going to have to live with him. I just hope that New York City really can live with it. And I hope that he changes from what he said when he won victory here in New York City. I just hope he realizes what he's been gifted with, being the mayor of one of the greatest cities in the world. And maybe he'll conform and realize that you have to do things and make people happy. And most important thing is public safety. And you have to appreciate the police and not degrade them and make them feel not like they have the support. So that's something very, very big. Will I be able to work with it? Somebody asked me, Bo, would you take a deputy mayor with public safety? No, I really don't want to work with him. I'm just praying that he changes his spot. So with that, we have a great lineup today. The lineup is one person I've been trying to get on the show. His name is Frank Tarentino III. He is the head of the Drug Enforcement Agency. I always mix my DEA up with your DEA. And Frank Tarentino is the head of the Drug Enforcement. Now, is that for the New York area, Northeast? What is they actually encompass?
Yeah, so first, Bo, thanks for this opportunity. It's great to sit with you here today and have this conversation. Interestingly, I was the special agent in charge of the New York division of the Drug Enforcement Administration, but recently was honored with the promotion by Administrator Terry Cole to be the Northeast Region Associate Chief of Operations. So I cover now from Maine all the way down to Virginia, so 6 divisions.
Oh, so you're like in Northeast.
Correct.
Quarter, yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. You're the first one to hear it.
Well, it'll be out. This comes out on Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Okay.
The tape, and again, and thank you for your service. You're an Army Ranger, and before I get into your history, and I'm very honored by you being here. I just usually do what we do every week, and I just go over a couple of things. You could jump in any time.
Sure.
I just don't want to get you in any kind of trouble because I'm a person that tells the facts and the truth. On Monday, the Homeland Security came out with some statistics for New York State, and there's approximately 7,000 criminal migrants, not migrants, criminal migrants that they've released as far as into our society. And some of the things on the rap sheets, like 29 homicides, 2,500 assaults, 207 sexual predator offenses, 200 burglaries, 305 robberies, 400 dangerous drugs offenses. That's right up your alley. Yeah. 300 guns and weapons and all that. And now ICE is demanding New York State Attorney General Letitia James and also the New York City Police Department and the DA in New York City there for New York City to turn these people over. And these include killers from Cuba, Dominican Republic, Honduras, Ecuador, Venezuela, Mexico. And several of these people that have been released, they're releasing them again, and they're committing crime after crime and crime. And they have the one guy who was arrested 7 times before he attacked a cop up in Ithaca, New York, and he was released again. They just keep letting him out, and It just just pisses me off that where do we draw the line? I mean, we had a Governor Andrew Cuomo, that signed that bill back in 2017, where he signed a bill where he put it in there. No personnel, none of our equipment, none of our resources in New York State can be used for the federal government to turn over these people to ICE and immigration and all that. And, it's just, you have everything going on right now. And then really affected me was this kid, good-looking kid from a family, this Luigi Mangione, whatever his name is. And, everybody around he's on trial now. Yeah. And they're in the court system, people outside, love letters, birthday cards, they're sending them. People don't realize this man was a married man with 2 children, and this little creep shoots him in the back, and they're idolizing. He's somebody that the actually people are idolizing for killing. So that means, Frank, if you don't like something, just shoot somebody. I mean, I've been around a long time. With my time in law enforcement and the private sector, 55 years that I've been involved with law enforcement and all that. And I just can't believe that this is where our society's going. And it's terrible. And one of the things that I want to talk about, too, is about Mondami. And he's letting my friend, the police commissioner, stay. And the real thing is that he's talking already about not bringing on new cops. We're short cops, and with cops being short as far as manpower, and they're cutting the overtime back, and what's going to affect? It's going to affect crime. I read today crime was down. That's great, but if you don't have that omnipresence of cops, it's going to go up, and then you have the repeat offenders that keep doing it. And then what's happening with Mondami? He actually hired the Democratic Socialists of America. His transition team are these people who've come out. The one guy wrote the book about to eliminate the police department. Now he puts them on his transition. So he's trying to I think he's showing his spots as far as what he's doing. Now we have an $8 billion deficit in New York City as far as with the budget. Now what happens is they have to balance the budget. He wants to raise the taxes. People are moving out. The services will be effective. And I love New York City, and I'm a lifelong New York City guy. And under the 1975 fiscal guardrails, you've got to balance his budget. Yeah. So if he don't have this money, now he wants to do all these trickery things, free buses, free this, everything's free. But where's the money come from? And again, I'm just praying that he just backs off when he realizes you can't do all these things without money. And also, the most important thing is the cops that I talk to all the time. They're leaving. Yeah. They have a salary of about $60,000 a year. And then when they have CCRB, used to be the police commissioner, could effectively make the determination on if they deem that the cop did something wrong. Now they want to give it to these people who hate cops to make a decision. That means if you have a young cop that is out there working, he put all his money together, he's got a couple of kids with a house, just making it, and now they're going to take his vacation days away. They might fire him, but now under these new laws that they have in effect, they could sue you civilly. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of cops are not going to stay. And on top of it, with the headlock law, look, I was a cop. I was a decoy a lot of years. I effected arrest over 1,600 felons. Wow. I was a decoy where I was mugged 500 times. If I couldn't use a headlock, I never killed nobody. I've been shot at. I've been hospitalized 30 times. But this is something, a headlock's a headlock. It's not a chokehold. But as soon as a cop puts his arm around a guy's neck, they go, oh, he's a chokehold. And then they have this thing where they diaphragm. You can't climb on top. I challenge anybody. How do you handcuff somebody without climbing on top of them? I don't know. Yeah. And now when they do these things and they effect a real justify arrest, they're going to be making complaints against them. And it's not a good scenario. And I only bring up the cop thing. With you, Frank, is because you're a law enforcement person, and cops are our first line who are out there every day. And that's something that, I don't even want to talk about this.
Well, I would just say, Bo, one of the, I think the best things that the mayor-elect did right out of the box is retain Commissioner Tisch. She's an amazing leader. She's an incredible partner to the DEA. I think you know this, but the DEA in New York has the oldest task force in the country. The New York Drug Enforcement Task Force is the oldest and largest task force ever created. It was formed in 1970, and it's made up of 3 agencies: the NYPD, the State Police, and the DEA. And that's where I began my career in 1998. And I learned invaluable information and tradecraft from the detectives that were assigned to the NYPD and the task force.
I remember Judge Edwin Torres. Do you remember the name?
I do.
Supreme Court judge. And he invited me into this is when a DEA officer who was on the Lower East Side got killed.
Yeah.
And it was a state trooper that was on the task force, the DEA task force. And I'll never forget, he called me into the court. Edwin Torres is a good friend of mine. He's 95 years old now.
Wow. And
he said, "Bo, I want you to come in." He was sentencing the guy that killed the state trooper who was on the DEA task force. And I'll never forget, he had all the state troopers were up there with their wide brim hats. And next thing he says, "Officers, put your hats back on." And then I'll never forget what he said, was he did a whole scenario about this guy getting away with killing people, and now it's stopping. And he goes, "I have good news, I got bad news. The good news is, under these parole laws, one day you'll get parole. The bad news, your parole officer hasn't been born yet."
Yeah.
The one guy started clapping, and Judge Torres says, "You can applaud everyone," and all the state troopers. I mean, this was really a fine day for law enforcement, that this creep was getting his due, this murderer and all that. And, right now, I noticed one thing, Frank.
Yeah.
I drove by the other day. I was going to some kind of an affair.
Yeah.
And I drove down past that park with the arch there, Washington Square Park.
Yeah.
It looked like years ago. It was beautiful, and you guys got involved with that. I'm sure you did.
Yes.
What did you guys do with that?
Yeah. So, Bo, one of the things that's really important to the DEA and certainly to the New York division is to really target the most significant traffickers and organizations that are impacting our community. And sometimes that is working those really high-level organizations that are based out of, let's say, Mexico or Colombia or Bolivia or wherever. But sometimes it is those organizations that are selling those street-level narcotics that are really impacting and harming New Yorkers. And so what we have done is created a task force, an overdose task force, that really operates on real-time intelligence, right from the OCME, from Dr. Jason Graham, the chief medical examiner here in New York City, and we target those organizations that are selling those lethal pills and the drugs that are laced with fentanyl.
And Frank, a lot of people don't understand, years ago, the kids used to do a hit of cocaine.
Yeah.
Get a couple of drinks in them.
Yeah.
Hey, you want a hit? Make you feel good and all that bullshit. Back in the 70s, it was like, I don't even think it was classified as a level of a drug. Cocaine was like readily used in restaurants and stuff. And then all of a sudden you take it. But people don't understand. They got some cocaine that's really crap.
Yeah.
They throw fentanyl in it.
That's right.
They don't measure it. They don't have no idea
That's right.
how much. All they want to do is be able to get someone high.
That's right.
And people don't realize that one hit
Yeah.
could be the end of it. And even my friend Steve Witkoff, the special emissary to the president, he was my real estate partner. His son died of the overdose.
That's tragic.
Andrew died of the overdose. And it's prevalent out there.
Yeah.
Now they're actually with the pills that you think you're getting a pill, a Quaalude, whatever the hell the pills are today, and they put fentanyl in there, and that's why the overdoses were reaching 100,000 dead.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. And I when you start these cases, Frank, from the street, and you start to go to the higher level and all that, do you follow it all the way back to Central and South America?
Yeah, Joe, I tell you, Bo, the one thing I would love to tell you is what my global pursuit forward mindset is.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's really what makes us unique and the lead in drug law enforcement across this country and all over the world.
Yeah.
But before I do that, I just want to talk a little bit about the success of the Washington Square Park case, because I feel like that is the perfect example of when you have the federal agencies working in lockstep with our local municipalities and with the prosecutors. So really, we identified an organization that was selling street-level narcotics that was harming people, and in some cases causing overdoses and overdose deaths. And we had a meeting. I went down to see Commissioner Tisch, and one of the things that's really important to me is I always want to know, how can we help New York City? Mm-hmm. What can the DEA do to best position themselves to provide the greatest amount of assistance and impact in a positive way to New York City? And so when we had that conversation, the first words out of Commissioner Tisch's mouth was Washington Square Park. And with that, we focused all of our efforts with coordination from the NYPD and the local precinct. We did an incredible job in a very short period of time, a very condensed period. We were able to arrest 24 people. And most importantly,
when you arrested them?
Yes.
Were they tried
federally?
Federally.
This is the first time, Bo,
That's why they're not back there.
Yeah, well, this is the first time in recent history that we were able to build such a strong prosecutorial case through the Southern District of New York, charging 24 people with death resulting. So that carries a mandatory minimum of 20 years. So in other words, for the listening
audience, when you charge, if someone overdosed and you follow it back and they supplied I use the word shit, that killed that person, you could charge them with that?
That's right.
Wow.
And in this case, we had an 18-year-old from across the country, Salt Lake City, Utah, come into New York City for an internship and overdose within a 24-hour period of being here. Wow. And it was because of the men that were selling drugs in Washington Square Park. And we were able to trace that back and provide a little bit of justice to Bailey Shaw's family.
Yeah, now, when you arrest them, if they're an illegal, they're illegal criminal, not a criminal.
Yeah.
I hate to just use illegal because there's a lot of people illegally in our country,
That's right.
but they're not criminals. I'm one, I'm part of this Homeland Security Advisory.
Yeah.
My thing is the criminal element. We got to get rid of them. Now, you're able to turn them over to ICE. You work with ICE then, right?
That's right, Bo. Here's how we look at it. Number one, drug trafficking and violence oftentimes are inextricably linked. So oftentimes we're finding drug traffickers with guns or drug traffickers who commit violent acts. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes the drug traffickers that we're pursuing have a citizenship outside of the United States. They belong to another country. They're basically coming into this country to take refuge and or take advantage of the demand for the illicit narcotic trade. So what we do is we go after illegal criminal drug traffickers. And when we do that, we focus in on the organizations that are based out of Mexico, based out of Colombia, based out of Bolivia, based out of the Western Hemisphere. Mm-hmm. And we focus on Venezuela, of course, and we try to target those organizations from the top down and from the bottom up.
Wow. And so when the arrest starts on the streets of New York, it can carry all the way back. And,
That's right.
And do that. You're listening to Bo Dietl's One Tough Podcast. Please stay tuned with this message, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah?
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
I was involved with the ATF and with the U.S. Attorney's Office on the gun lock stuff.
Yeah.
I was trying to get the NYPD to be more actively involved with turning over these gun arrests and charging them federally. And that to me that's a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah.
I just say, you remember when I first became a cop, they had the Sullivan law in New York City, 7 years if you got caught with a gun. Now guys are getting caught with guns over and over. But my point was the only way to really prosecute them, sorry to say, is federally, where they really get real time, because you know yourself, underneath the New York State criminal system here, they get arrested with guns and then right out, get arrested with guns over and over and over and over and over again. But this is very good, what you're doing as far as with charging them with the federally crimes, because the New York State wouldn't even be holding them. Right?
No, it's exactly true. I mean, what we focus on are trying to bring the most significant, most prosecutable case to the highest possible level that we can. And so oftentimes we will bring it to our federal partners at the Southern District of New York and Eastern District of New York, and charging a 924C, which is a weapons possession or using a weapon in furtherance of a crime.
You bring that right in also.
Absolutely.
Besides the drug charge, the gun charge federally. Yeah. Hey, I remember about this Percocet Princess. What was that case all about?
Yeah, so again, this is the great relationship and partnership that has developed since I've been here in the last 4 years between public health and public safety. Because to be honest, we're striving every single day to create a fentanyl-free America. That's our goal. And we believe we can achieve that. But to do that, we have to increase our enforcement efforts, increase education, prevention, and awareness. And what we have done is built a great team. And I mentioned him earlier. Dr. Jason Graham has been absolutely critical in our ability. That? So Dr. Graham is the chief medical examiner for New York City. He is able to give us real-time intelligence that allows us to focus in on when there's an overdose death. And what we did, we created some criteria, Bo, of who we think we can absolutely respond to and have some kind of level of success. So we said mass overdose events. So anytime there's 3 or more people that overdose in a single time,
and you got
a hot close proximity, we're going to respond. If it's an overdose death that involves the collection of drug paraphernalia or technology, we want to respond to that. If it's an overdose death of a young person, we want to respond to that. So what we were able to do is Dr. Graham was able to focus us in on those investigations, those cases that we had the highest level of success, right? And so what we did is in the Percocet Princess, there was a 19-year-old who died in New York City, and we didn't know who he was. We just knew that the 19-year-old had died. So we investigated that. We were able to identify the person that sold the pills, and that happened to be Sophia Marks. And Sophia Marks was the Percocet Princess, as her social media moniker stated, and then we arrested her, and then we built our investigation from there. What we learned—
Was that De Niro's kid?
It was, yeah. Leonardo De Niro Rodriguez. What we learned about that case, and this is what's really incredible, and I want to tell this because this is important. This is what we tell parents all the time. It's about proximity, purpose, and persistence, right? So proximity means when you're around somebody that has knowledge and information that can help you make better decisions, then ideally you're going to refrain from using illicit drugs. But it's also about parents having close proximity to law enforcement to be able to tell their story and share what they know about their son or daughter or loved one. So that proximity we've created by having meetings and community events with families who have lost loved ones. So then the purpose is they have a purpose, so like us, to seek justice, right? Enforce the rule of law. And then the persistence is there's no more persistent person in the world than a mom. Right? A mom wants to see that her son or daughter is safe, but also that justice is served. So in this instance, I happened to run into Drina De Niro at an event, and I wanted to express my condolences on the loss of her son. And she shared a story with me about a neighbor of hers in the building in which she lived, who had a similar experience, that their daughter died, and so they had this opportunity to share their tragic stories. And she asked me if I would be interested in looking into their case because their case really wasn't going anywhere. So I said, of course. So I gave her my contact information, and then the next day I get a call from the father. He tells me the story of his daughter dying. I said, I can promise you one thing, We will absolutely do everything we can to look into the death of your daughter. I can't promise the outcome, but I can promise we'll give it everything we have.
Yeah.
And so that turned out to be Akira Stein. That case was we were able to take that information and link it to the Sophia Marks in that organization. And
how many?
There were 3 deaths that were associated with the Percocet Princess.
When that's happened, now who actually does the investigation? You utilize the NYPD's detectives?
It's a team effort. We can't do it alone.
So in other words, you get a team of people, some New York City detectives and some of you guys.
That's right.
And this way you find out all the facts like that.
That's right. That's right. And the key in these investigations, as you well know, is technology. It's exploiting the technology and being able to, in real time, respond and then collect that evidence to use for prosecution. And we were able to do that in this case.
And there was something else interesting I read, this Trident doctorate. What is that all about?
You heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So we have assembled a incredible team of law enforcement professionals from all over the federal government and state and local. Mm-hmm. And we have positioned them in a space where they're fully integrated, and then they have access to not just law enforcement sensitive information, but to what we call high side information or top secret level information. They have the right clearances. They are able to analyze this information in a responsible way in a secure setting, and then they're able to use that information to target the most significant organizations and traffickers, and then coordinate that with U.S. military and U.S. intelligence community entities to have the greatest impact and outcome. And it's been really successful.
I would love, with these gangs that we have, mostly these drug gangs, they take them down all the time. We pick up the paper every day, guns, drug gang. But they don't utilize the federal law on all of them. Am I correct? I mean, how many of those can you really actually handle? Because that is the significant crime problem, are these gangs which are dealing drugs. Does the NYPD bring you in on them so this way we could get the bigger bang on the federal prosecution instead of the joke of the city and state of New York prosecution?
Well, listen, I think we have an incredible partnership with the NYPD, and I think the sharing of information happens seamlessly every single day. But I want to just highlight one example of how we have deliberately increased that information sharing. So early on, Tom Galati was the chief of intel for the NYPD, and I went to him along with my colleagues from our intel division, and we asked him if he would be willing to give us an FIO, a field intelligence officer at the DEA. And so now, with the 78 precincts across New York City, we have an FIO that sits in our DEA space that's tied into all 78 precincts.
And so we have the significant intelligence on these gangs.
That's right. That's right. And then you got to add the fact that President Trump and the Secretary of State were able to designate both MS-13 and TDA as foreign terrorist organizations back in February of 2025. That significantly enhances our capability to go after these organizations in a responsible way.
From being a New York detective and a lot of my life in there, and being involved with detectives now still in investigations, you have a certain amount of the repetitive criminal element out there.
Yeah.
And the majority of them, from what I see, are committing these crimes based on the drug trafficking. So that is a hand in hand. Maybe that's part of the crime wave being lowered by attacking these gangs and prosecuting them federally, where we take them off the street and we don't have to worry about the weak liberal laws of New York City, New York State. And that's something that that's a biggie. Yeah. And I'm really happy that you guys are utilizing the power of the federal government, because we're powerless in New York City, New York State in prosecuting these these criminals and all that. And
many of the investigations that we're working, Bo, investigations that you would be familiar with in your time as a New York City police officer and detective, a lot of those cases involve New York City detectives. They're either the lead case agent or they're a co-case agent, and they're the ones driving the investigation. And they do an incredible job. And what I really appreciate about the relationship that we have with NYPD is we're able to leverage all of our resources, abilities, and knowledge, information, along with the 36,000 New York City police officers to really have the greatest impact on keeping New York City safe.
Now, do you have a system, like, again, I'm retired 40 years, believe it or not.
Yeah.
40 years I'm out of the police department. I broke my leg parachute with a couple of towelhead Saudi Arabian princes. I had a bodyguard company back when I was a detective. You weren't allowed to moonlight, but you couldn't really survive on your salary.
Yeah.
So when they would come into New York, what I would do is put security on them.
Okay.
And then I was the New York State arm wrestling champion.
Oh, wow.
So they used to have me meet them in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and Jeddah. And then we would go to Paris and London, and they'd have these big Lebanese bodyguards. And I was only maybe 185 pounds.
Yeah.
But I was New York State arm wrestling champion. So these big gorillas, 6'5" Lebanese guys, I would be able to beat them in arm wrestling. So I was like the jokester, like the court gesture.
Yeah.
So, and they would give me a lot of money. Statute of limitations over, but I did spend it all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was able to really have a really good life of utilizing, this extra funding for me. But it becomes very difficult. It becomes very difficult for, cops to make their ends meet. But the point I'm trying to get is the New York City police officers and detectives, through your good relationship with the commissioner, with our commissioner there, are they able to put an intelligence report into you? How does that work? Because if they're advised, even a uniformed cop on a beat, who sees things and knows things, where they could send you intelligence, and we know with intelligence being resourced and fed into databases, then we start to realize, wait a second, that's very similar to that.
Yeah.
Do we have that set up?
We do.
What I'm saying is very simplistic.
Yeah.
But yet it's so simplistic.
Sure.
But it would be a great intelligence thing for you guys to all of a sudden coordinate all these information and say, wait a second.
Well, I think we have an incredible, as I said earlier, relationship, but you also have some really amazing leaders at the NYPD, Rebecca Weiner, Chief LaPetrie. They're integrated and interested every single day in the intelligence work that goes on at NYPD, and then sharing that information, that intelligence, with agencies like the FBI and the DEA and Homeland Security, so that we can, again, keep New Yorkers safe. And I think you're seeing the effects of that when you read about these arrests and these seizures, but a lot of times you don't read about it because we're preventing things from happening before they ever happen. And that's because of the men and women of the NYPD.
And the proactive, it's just funny to me, like, we have a really diversified police department from when I was on now. And basically, if you put it out to them, they all want to be, if they really come on the force to be a good cop, good detective, they all want to be helpful.
Yeah.
And I mean, to incentivize them that we'd like information. That could be something cool for you or your people to go and speak to the patrol officers and say, look, this is your area. You know about your precinct. Any kind of intelligence report you could send, we would certainly welcome. And then they become part of it, because this way you're dealing with them as it is. They didn't do it for the money.
Yeah.
I mean, God knows. I hope that they're doing it for the reasons that I did it, was to help people.
That's right.
And public safety is very, very important.
That's right. It's about service.
Yeah.
What I would like to just share with you really briefly is that we're working on something right now, Bo, that I think is going to be transformational in terms of giving New York City police officers the information that they need to share real-time intelligence with the DEA so that we can try to investigate these overdose deaths in a more actionable, more real-time professional way, and that is giving them something that would allow them to identify the things that are of interest to us when we're prosecuting those types of cases. So collecting the evidence at the scene. So we're working on that now, and we're excited about the opportunity to put this into action, because these investigations are really homicide investigations, and we have to approach them like that.
Well, that's a very good way of approaching it. Now you get your big more bang for your buck when you arrest somebody. But the other side of it too is, they have these cell phones now that all the cops have. I mean, they can have a sequence there as far as information on narcotics and share it with the NYPD narcotics guys and the DEA with the database. I love that. I think that's a great idea. Now you're looking beyond, and I think by getting the involvement of the uniform cop, saying, wow, you could change something. You can help it. You could stop these deaths of Americans and all that. And I was glad to see my friend Pete, their Secretary of not the Fed, War. Pete was a contributor with me on Fox TV for a lot of years. I know Pete, and people are shitting and gogging about these people getting blown up like that. But in reality, I look at upon, these are people that are killing Americans, and it's deemed as far as them being terrorists. The only thing I get nervous about is the Mexico. And Mexico with these cartels, I'm afraid for your guys. I'm afraid for every law enforcement person, because their own government is 60% of the country is controlled by these cartels. I mean, did you ever think, and I won't hold you to it, but did you ever think in your mind eventually that's going to have to happen? Because the reality is Mexico cannot control their own country, and this same poison is coming to our country through them. So if we can signify that we got to take these people out, they can't do it. I mean, what's your personal feeling? This is not policy of the DEA.
No, I mean, listen, I feel like my personal opinion and what aligns with the DEA, because we believe in our hearts that we can make a difference. And so we believe that we can eliminate the cartels, right? I mean, we're laser focused on identifying, mapping how the cartels are operating here in the United States, and of course, how the two most dominant cartels, Sinaloa and Jalisco, are operating in Mexico. And so what we're doing is we're using data-driven, intelligence-led operations to really focus on those two cartels, and we're having a great impact.
Well, we really are. I think we can have a better, and this is a discussion that I'd like to have maybe by next week with the president. But part of my directive, and I'm a grandfather and all that. And you're talking about 50 or 60 dead in Mexico every year. When my kids ask, they want to go to Cancun, they want to go to Acapulco, I said, no. I mean, the reality is not just tourists, they're going after everybody, including the people that, let's face it, that is the biggest problem for drugs is Mexico. And we have to face that.
That's right.
And the president has to get really tough. And if we have to see our little helicopters coming in there, going after these cartels, they can't handle them. My thing is going to be, well, we got to help them. We got to help them get rid of these cartels, because these cartels have a price on your head. They have a price on the ICE guys, and that's something we have to deal with. We can't turn and cower. We got to go in there and fight, and that's something that's important. Frank, we could talk here for hours and hours. And we're gonna wind down. I really want to thank you. Is anything else you'd like to talk about?
Well, I mean, I'd like to share just a few of what a few bits of information of what we've learned over the last year, and also just let you know what we're doing and where we're going, because I think that's important. I think the American people should feel a sense of hope and optimism with the work that we're doing. So, for example, in 2023 into 2024, there were 112,323 overdose deaths. That's a number that you and I just really can't wrap our heads around.
How many?
112,323.
Last year.
In a 12-month period ending in August of 2024. So that number it's a massive number, right? So when we think about the impact that we're having now, we're down to 84,076. So 29% decrease in overdose deaths in a 12-month period.
Too many.
Well, I think it's a great example of the focus on enforcement and the focus on education, prevention, and awareness that the DEA and all of our other partners are involved in. But I think it also shows the American people that we're serious about this work, right? And I think it's also sobering to know that the leading cause of death among Americans today, 18 to 44, is overdose deaths and poisonings. That's frightening. The other thing that I think is really frightening, and this is where I want people to really demand action. So 230 Americans are dying every day from an overdose death or a poisoning. It's 230. One person every 6 minutes.
Every day.
So that's the equivalent of a 737 crashing every day in the United States.
Wow. When people start to realize those numbers, holy mackerel.
It's a lot of people. So, we're now down to about 50,000 Americans have died as a result of fentanyl poisoning, directly related to fentanyl. And that's a decrease of significant proportions. We went from, at one point, 7 out of every 10 pills that we were testing in our laboratories, 70% had a lethal dose of fentanyl.
Lethal fentanyl.
Lethal, 2.2 milligrams. Now we're down to 30% or 29%, 3 out of 10, which is significant. So 29% of all the fentanyl that we're testing in our laboratories is lethal. So that's our efforts, along with our partners, of really going after, again, eliminating the cartels, having that mindset, right? Because it's all about a mindset, and then holding them accountable.
And you know what it is? When people listen to this, and we're going to, again, wind it down, it doesn't have a certain group, because all groups could be involved, and even people with their loved ones, their grandchildren, their children could be caught up peer pressure.
That's
when
right.
they're in school. I know what happens with that. And put it this way, Frank, I'm a big supporter of what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I do have some good ears there in Washington, and what you're doing is really great. And I really intend to speak out on what you're doing, because this is so important for us to follow through. The only problem, again, I keep going back to my liberal state, my liberal city. It's a shame that we have to kick it up to the federal level. We should have it being dealt with on that level. That's why every case that you guys do, it's good to hear that it's being prosecuted federally other than the other one. And where do you live, Frank?
So I don't live in New York City. I wish I did. It's a great city. But I do live in the surrounding area. And, what I do appreciate very much is that I get to come into this great city every day and not just work here, but have an incredible relationship with my colleagues from all over the federal agencies, and of course with our state and locals, with NYPD. And it's just a pleasure to serve a great organization, a great agency like the DEA, but to do it here in New York City is really special.
Yeah, well, October.
Yeah. So, Bo, we had this operation that was a national initiative called Fentanyl Free America. And during that period of time, we focused in on the organizations that were moving fentanyl across the United States. And here in New York, we seized enough fentanyl that could kill 5 million people in 1 month.
5 million people.
That's right. And up to this year, we have seized already nearly 900 pounds of fentanyl powder and pills, which is the equivalent of nearly 19 million lethal doses of fentanyl, which could have killed every single New Yorker in the state of New York.
Wow.
So that's the kind of work that we're doing, and that's the kind of effort and focus that the DEA has across this country. In 1 month, we seized over 5 million lethal doses.
Frank, I really want to thank you for New York and our country. I mean, you're saving Americans, and I thank you for your service. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bo.
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now, is a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.